Selling a house somewhere else can give you a strong position when buying in Knoxville, but it can also give you a false sense of control. You may come here with equity, confidence, and strong budget, and then realize the market doesn't behave the way you thought. Price is only part of it. Timing can create pressure. Inspections may feel different than what you are used to. A beautiful online home can turn into a very difficult decision when you think about commute, appraisal, financing, repairs, and where your money is actually coming from.
And from the mortgage side, truly the surprise is hidden in the details. Your old house may be sold, but you still need funding for the new one. And on top of that, that money has to be meticulously documented. A big surprise most sellers moving from other locations to here have is the fact that the purchase price may be lower, but that monthly payment may be higher than you expected. Your closing timeline, down payment, interest rate, reserves, and lender approval all matter before you even put in that offer on a new home here in Knoxville.
So in this video, we're gonna be talking about what relocators misjudge when selling a home somewhere else and buying in Knoxville. We will cover budget expectations, offer strength, financing timing, temporary housing, inspections, appraisals, new construction, area selection, and the mindset that help you make the move.
The goal isn't just to get you here to East Tennessee. Of course we want that, but the true goal is to help you arrive with a plan, understand what your money really does here, and avoid making rushed decisions because your house already sold before you even put in an offer here in Knoxville.
So if you're thinking about making the move at any point to Knoxville, Tennessee, subscribe to Living Life in Knoxville because we're gonna help you understand the area, the market, and the strategy before you make the move.
All right, let's start with the assumption that causes the most amount of problems. And that's generally the money from relocating from somewhere else to here. When you sell your property for $900,000, $1.2 million, or something in that range, and you look at a price here in Knoxville like $400,000, $600,000, maybe even like $800,000, it can make you feel like that money will solve everything.
Knoxville might give you more options than the place you're living, but that doesn't mean that the search becomes simple. The best homes still get attention. Desired areas also carry a premium. So really strong budget only give you leverage if it is paired with the right strategy.
And really, payment is where most buyers feel that huge reality check. Because you may still sell that property, but end up with a monthly payment that might be just the same, or maybe just a tiny bit less, but you're probably thinking, oh, I'm gonna have a very, very, very small monthly payment. That's not always the case. A lot of things affect that monthly payment, specifically the rate, the loan amount, the property taxes, the HOAs, and the cash you keep after closing all kind of really impact that monthly payment. Because let's be honest, if you sell a house for $800,000 but only use like $50,000 of that money to put onto a new home and the new loan is about $750,000, you're not really making any significant difference on your monthly payment.
And someone might say, I sold my house for $900 and now I want to spend $650 here in Knoxville. Well, that sounds conservative on paper, but once monthly payment, repairs, moving expenses, and reserves enter the conversation, it becomes more personal.
Also, to be very honest, there is a huge difference between what you're approved for and the kind of payments that you truly want to carry. One number comes from that approval, and the other one comes from your lifestyle. And speaking of lifestyle, we have a whole video on every single different lifestyle that you could possibly think of. So if you have not seen that video, check it out. It's on screen now. Go look at it and come right back.
And that's why we try to separate the emotional budget with the real budget. The emotional budget is the one that feels comfortable because you just sold in a more expensive place. But the real budget accounts for your payment, cash position, comfort level, timeline, and what you want your life to feel like after closing.
If the move is supposed to give you less stress, more space, or a lower monthly payment, the financing and lifestyle really have to reflect that. Because a house can look like a deal on paper compared to where you came from, but in real life, that might not be the best fit.
Now let's talk about what the different budgets can give you here in Knoxville. If you are, say, $350 to $450, buyers need to think about commute, competition, updates, and very careful think about the age of the house that you're gonna buy. If you move up, say, 5 to 650, it can open more doors, it can open more options. You're gonna have stronger neighborhoods, better conditions, larger layouts, and newer options depending on the area. Once you reach 750 to 1 million, the conversation shifts a little bit towards moving up. Entry luxury property can be found, but the lifestyle may change drastically from one pocket to another.
A $750,000 home in Sequoia Hills, per se, well, first off, you might not even find that in Sequoia Hills, but second off, it doesn't give you that same lifestyle that it would in some place like South Knoxville, maybe West Hills, maybe Loudoun County, definitely not. That'll be a very different lifestyle. Probably be way bigger home, more acreage, sure, but you'll be a million miles away from other things. So it depends on lifestyle very, very much. The price may match, right? 750 in Loudoun County and 750 in Sequoia Hills will match. It's the same price, but the resale, the commute, the setting, the maintenance, more specifically than anything, will be extremely different on either side of that coin.
Now, above 1 million, more options open up, but Knoxville Luxury is not all about the square footage. Land, views, water access, golf access, privacy, finishes, neighborhood demand, and convenience all shape it out. Buyers who shop only by the price can be confused at the end of the day because the same number may buy a different version of life.
And truly, even the smallest bit of budget jump can really change the difference in your monthly payment, in the financing picture. Because going from $600,000 to $750,000 may seem small, that's only, $150,000, but payment difference can be meaningful, even coming from a high-priced market. Before touring homes, you need to make sure you find the comfortable zone of your pre-approval rather than just the highest number, because I have seen too many people get in very big financial trouble because they just went with the highest possible offer to get the best possible house, when instead they could have just gotten maybe $50,000 to $100,000 less and been in a much more comfortable and very successful for the future type of plan.
Now, competition is another area where relocation buyers get surprised. And it's because Knoxville is a smaller city that they're moving from, and some buyers expect the search to be relaxed. In reality, the market includes local buyers, move-up buyers, retirees, first-time home buyers, investors, and relocation buyers across the country. A clean, well-priced home can still move really quick.
And being prepared doesn't mean you're rushing. It means you're absolutely ready when the right property appears.
A home that has been on the market for 70 days, needs work, and is overpriced may have more room for negotiations. But the conversation changes if it is a great layout, good condition, a desirable neighborhood, and a price buyers already understand. That kind of home might not be here while you book a flight to get here to look at it.
One very important thing is that offer strength is more than just that number at the top of the contract. It's just more than the offer price. There's so many things that go into a really good offer, including communication between your agents. That's incredibly important. Your agent will have better rapport with the other agent if everybody's communicative. The sellers want to know, are your funds ready? Do they have to wait 30, 45, 60 days for your funds to clear? Is your house already sold? Are you coming soon? Are you waiting for your house to sell before you can be able to purchase their home? Has the lender even taken a look at your file? Are you pre-approved? Are you fully underwritten? Because there are ways, as a lender for 4 years, there are ways your lender can look at your information prior to putting in an offer on a home that makes you already underwritten, that makes your offer extremely strong up front. And does the timeline even work for the seller and the buyer together? I mean, is that something they can even consider happening. All of these things matter when putting in an offer. The other things that are quite important are inspection timelines, appraisal timelines. Is there an appraisal contingency? What's the closing date looking like? And once again, clean communication are all things that make an offer much more strong or much less strong than just the number at the top of the page. And another major question is also incredibly important is, are you buying first? Are you selling first? Or are you doing both at the same time? Each path creates a very different strategy from the beginning.
When you must sell before you buy, temporary housing, offer strength, and timing becomes a major part of the plan. Someone who can qualify before having to sell may have more control, although the numbers need to support that choice. Paying cash also gives you a great strength, but the due diligence must be followed.
From our side, we need to know exactly where those funds are coming from. Are they coming from an investment account that you're liquidating? Are they coming from the proceeds of a sale? Are you using a bridge option? Do you have savings that are already liquid? Is it a gift that's coming from a family member or something else like that? Is it a HELOC? Or matter of fact, is it a rental like income plan? All of those things matter because those different forms of liquidation or income require different types of documentation and timing. And this conversation belongs at the beginning, certainly not a week before closing.
And really, stress shows up when planning starts too late. A buyer may call us and say, I'm closing my house on Friday, I'm gonna be there Saturday. We can still help, but the real planning need to start even before you put your house on the market. How you sell there affects how you buy here.
Now let's have a conversation about temporary housing, because this deserves a lot more attention than what people give it. Saying we'll rent for a month or two and then move is something I hear very often, but isn't as easy as it sounds. Because when the pets come into the picture, the furniture comes into the picture, work from home space is set up, school calendars, storage, and moving costs enter the picture,
the emotional pressure build up quickly. Temporary housing feels manageable, but after a few weeks later, your furniture is in storage, your routine is gone, and every showing starts to feel urgent. That is when buyers talk themselves into compromises they will have rejected under normal circumstances.
Temporary housing should be part of the conversation from the beginning. It should not be a very exit strategy for the very end. If you're gonna need it, make sure to build that cost into place. Make sure to set that timeline, a real timeline. Very importantly, make sure that emotional pressure is set in there as well. Know that it's gonna feel horrible. You're gonna think, oh, I just wanna do this and that instead. Just fine, let's just buy it. That's a very hard sentence to say. Put that into your strategy before any of this begins.
Now, inspections can also feel different here in Knoxville than the place you're living. Our areas have new construction, older ranch homes, basements, split foyers, crawl spaces, homes on slopes, septic systems, and wells in more rural areas. Some properties have beautiful views, but also driveways you need to experience before making that decision.
A listing photo does not show everything that matters. The angle of the yard. Are you going to be able to even push mow that thing? Road noise. Is there a highway 10 feet away from you? That crawl space condition. Is the foundation crumbling from underneath without you even knowing? Is there water building up in that foundation or in that crawl space constantly? And that here in Knoxville, Tennessee specifically is quite a big deal. What is the drainage like? What is the slope of the driveway? Do you need to put in your 4x4 before going up the hill itself?
What's gonna happen when it rains?
Oh my.
When it ices?
Oh my. What's the actual commute like? Do you have enough time to get from point A to point B? Or do you need to wake up an hour before because traffic is going to be insane at 8 a.m., which it is? All of that can completely change the way the home feels from person to person.
That is why out-of-state buyers need honest guidance. It's just not enough to say, this house is beautiful. You may need to hear how it affects maintenance, financing, resale. That's something I do drill into my clients. when they say this is going to be my forever home, and I said it might not be. So what's going to happen when we need to sell this property again? Is it still going to be a market for 137 days?
And a real life example of something like that, I had a couple of clients who were looking to purchase this cute, it was gorgeous, tiny little cottage. It had that cool little swoop. It was brick. It was beautiful. The inside was great. They were absolutely in love with it. But the house had been on the market for 130, 140 days. And I was like, why? It's priced really well. It's in a great location. Well, what they didn't show us in the pictures is that literally, maybe 10 to 50 feet away was a Hardee's. And that affects resale value significantly. And I told them that. I said, whenever you guys are ready to sell this home, the same amount of troubles that they're having now, you're gonna have down the line. And it might even be worse for you, because there might be more, if there's deferred maintenance, I try to be as honest with that as possible with them. You might need to change an HVAC, you might need to change flooring. Anyways, there was a lot of things involved that could really hurt that resale of that home. And I told them that. And thankfully, they ended up not purchasing that home and actually getting into a home that has wonderful resale value, and they're significantly happier.
Appraisal risk is another detail that buyers with the strong equity most of the time overlooked, because offering over asking, it sounds emotionally right, but the lender still cares about the actual appraisal value.
What we mean by that is that a contract where you put in an offer for $650, but the appraiser comes in and says the real value of this home is $625, there's a gap of $25,000 there that the lender will not cover. And that's why we're saying this might feel emotionally safe for somebody with a lot of equity, because they'll be like, yeah, sure, I've got $25,000 extra, I'll go ahead and put that down. The buyer can bring extra cash to the table, which can be an issue in and of itself, because if you bring $650,000 to a $625,000 house and you want to sell or need to sell 6 months to a year later, you're going to be upside down. Another way is that the seller may adjust. Not very usual, but they might. Both sides can renegotiate the deal. That's the most common solution to the problem. And this happens often too. The deal may just simply not move forward. They'll say, you offered something else, you don't have what you need, we're just not gonna take your deal.
Even cash buyers need to think carefully about value. The lender might not care about appraisal, but overpaying still use real money. Cash gives you strength, no permission to skip the analysis.
Sometimes paying a premium makes sense, right? Like there's a very, very rare property. It's a very specific lifestyle that you guys want without a shadow of a doubt. It's a strong lot. It's in absolutely excellent condition, or it's a very demanding property. Sometimes paying extra makes sense. Let's say there's a very rare property. It's a hard to duplicate location. It's a strong lot, the house is in excellent condition, or it's a perfect lifestyle fit. All of those things justify stretching. But on the opposite side of that, fear, exhaustion, or relocation pressure absolutely do not justify overpaying.
This is why a strong offer needs to be thoughtful instead of reactive. Price matters, yes, but certainty, financing, timing, inspections, appraisal terms, and communication can make the difference between an offer that looks good and one actually that feels safe to the seller.
A basic pre-qualification letter does not carry the same weight as a lender-reviewed pre-approval. A pre-approval is when income, assets, sale proceeds, if you're selling a home, and timeline have already been established and reviewed. And generally, the sellers have much more trust in this type of pre-approval letter.
And relocation buyers need that extra credibility. If you're out of state, using funds from another closing, or trying to line up several moving pieces, the rest of the offer should be as clean as possible.
That a lot of people don't really think about is if you're relocating, do you have a job here? Do you have income that will continue once you arrive to Knoxville or any of the surrounding areas? That is incredibly important.
Unless you're coming here to retire, and it'll be fun and games.
New construction attracts a lot of relocation buyers because it feels like a fresh start. There's new appliances, new systems, much less maintenance, bigger closets, sometimes open kitchens depending on the floor plans.
So a new home can be an excellent choice, but it's not always a simple choice. Builder contracts, lot premiums, upgrades, incentives, HOA restrictions, completion timelines, and what's actually included needs to be understood before you fall in love with the model home.
Financing also changes depending on the stage of completion of the home. A completed home, an under construction home, and a build from the ground up are all very different financing strategies. Rate locks, closing timelines, cash needs, contingencies, and lender requirements can all shift depending on which path you choose.
Because let's be honest, model homes are built to create emotion. They're beautifully furnished, upgraded, and all finishes work together to make the home feel perfect. Your job is to understand what is actually coming with the purchase at the price that you're paying for that home.
Builder incentives can be incredibly useful, although the best use of that depends on the deal itself. Are they giving you closing cost help? Are they giving you a rate buy down? And price adjustments should be compared full picture instead of just an isolated, we'll give you $6,000 towards your closing costs. Should all be taken a look at full picture. What does that mean?
And representation here matters because the builder's agent can present themselves as very professional and very informative. But you gotta understand they're representing the seller who is the builder. You want someone helping you to evaluate the contract, inspections, walkthroughs, resale picture, timeline, and whether that community will feel the way you want.
And another mistake that relocation buyers have, and honestly even Knoxville natives have, is looking at the house prior to looking at the area. People, relocation buyers think, let's look at the kitchen, let's look at the yard, let's look at the square footage, the bedroom size, and all of that is absolutely fantastic, and you very much should look at that. Knoxville has very different pockets very close to each other.
A $600,000 here in Knoxville will give you a very different life than the same price in Maryville. South Knoxville, Farragut, Loudon, Hardin Valley, Powell, Oak Ridge, downtown Knoxville, and Lake communities each solve different problems. No area is automatically better. It's just what matches your routine.
And the monthly picture also changes from area to area. Let's consider taxes, insurance, HOAs, commute costs, maintenance, utilities, and future repairs can make two homes of the same price range feel incredibly different.
Area selection should come before emotional attachment. Convenience, land, new construction, walkability, privacy, lake access, mountain access, commute, schools, and proximity to family should all shape your search. Without those answers, your map search, it's gonna be too wide. By the time you feel ready, another buyer was more ready than you.
Sometimes this Knoxville market can feel extremely competitive, especially if the process was not organized right at the beginning.
Now, mindset also matters because sometimes buyers that come from a bigger market may think that Knoxville is like a discounted version of the place they're coming from. And that can hurt you.
An offer based off of what a buyer thinks Knoxville should cost rather than what Knoxville actually does cost can really hurt a buyer.
You're buying a specific home on a specific street on a specific pocket of East Tennessee. The value depends on nearby sales, conditions, lot, upgrades, school zone demand, commute, resale value, and current buyer activity.
The strongest relocation buyers usually have these two traits at the same time. They're confident enough to act, yet humble enough to learn from the local market.
You might be waiting for the perfect home. That sounds perfect, but it can become a trap. There is no perfect home. A better target is the right home, one that fits your lifestyle, respects your budget, checks most of the boxes, and leaves you with compromises you can live with.
Something incredibly important is that the numbers need to match the excitement. What I mean by that is that the perfect dream home, if it's causing financial stress, it will not feel that good 6 months down the line, or even 2 months down the line when you have to do your first initial payment, because thankfully you get 1 month free, but that second month, it can be a bit of a reality check.
So here is a framework we use with relocation buyers. We start with the lifestyle before the search. We have said this 1,000 times, but it's very important you do get what's important before we start searching. The goal, lower payment, more space, less maintenance, better commute, newer construction, privacy, land, lake access, family proximity, or slower pace can all point into different directions. Now the wish list can also include a flat yard, new home, 3-car garage, mountain views, no HOAs, privacy, shopping nearby, and a proximity to downtown.
And that's a fantastic wish list, truly, but it needs a bit of prioritizing. What matters more to you, a 3-car garage or no HOA? Does the view matter more, or do you care that it's a new construction? Maybe proximity to downtown outranks a lot of land. And some people just would rather like a smaller payment rather than a lot more square footage.
Once the priorities are clear, the search becomes cleaner. The strategy is not, I sold high, so Knoxville should be easy. The better plan to approach is, here is my budget, here's my lifestyle, and here are the trade-offs. This is our plan.
Before we wrap up, let's cover what creates the biggest problems. Waiting until your home is already sold to start the financing conversations can put pressure on the entire move. Another problem is assuming that your old payment will transfer to Knoxville, and that's not always the case. New debt, unexplained deposits, and last-minute financial moves can really complicate an approval. Do not buy a new car. Do not purchase furniture. Do not open a new credit card until you have fully closed on your loan. Cash helps, but it does not solve every risk.
And let's be clear, 1 weekend trip is not enough to understand the area. Pretty photos does not give you context. The lowest price is not always the best value. An older home is not automatically a problem, and a new home is not always perfect. Most importantly, you need to treat Knoxville as its own market, not a cheaper version of where you're sold.
And let's be extremely honest, selling in a different location can be an extreme advantage. Your equity can be strong. Your options can open up very wide. And Knoxville may give you a better lifestyle than that previous market was offering. But without a plan, that advantage can turn into stress immediately. Build your plan before your pressure hits.
Whether you're moving to Knoxville tomorrow, next month, in 3 months, just reach out. We will help you make a smart move here to Knoxville.
Drop a comment down below, tell us where you're moving from and what your budget is, and we'll help you get a better understanding of what's the best fit for you.
Don't forget to subscribe to Living Life in Knoxville for more real estate videos, relocation, neighborhoods, and what buyers and sellers need to know before they make a decision.
We'll see you in the next one.